Well, hello, folks. How are you? I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. Today's lecture is going to be about studying for the certification exam, and I'd like to give you some test taking tips and strategies. Now, part of being a successful certification exam taker is pretty much understanding how to break down the test and attack those questions, not necessarily from a content point of view, but from, okay, so if somebody gives me a multiple choice question, what do I need to do to figure this out if I really don't understand the question or I'm not familiar with the content? What can I do to give me the best chance at getting this question right? Maybe by guessing. So let's take a look at some of my tips that I have in here. Okay, so first of all, in order to beat the test, because you're going to win, my friends, you are going to pass the test and you are not going to spaz out. Remember, that's our mantra. We're going to pass and we're not going to spaz out. Well, you know what? If you're afraid of spiders, what should you do? Learn as much as you can about spiders so that you understand how they move, when they're going to jump out at you, if they're going to crawl on your foot, what do you do if they crawl on your foot, etc., etc., etc. So maybe the exam for you is like a big giant spider. So let's find out where it comes from. Where do they have the questions? Okay, well, where can they get the questions? Think about it. It's common sense. The questions come from general universal knowledge. Okay. So for example, there might be a question about the sky. What color is it? Okay. Well, it's blue. Unless, of course, it's night and then it's black. So, just general universal knowledge, things that we should all know. Also, the questions on this exam are specifically going to come from the specialized subject matter. So all of those things that you've learned in your 18 months while you've been in school, those are the things that are going to come back up, and that's going to be the content of your certification exam. All right, so multiple choice questions. You know that one where they say choose the best answer? Well, they literally mean the best answer. There might be two answers that are pretty close to being right, but one of them is going to be the best. It is going to be better than any of the other choices because, especially in the area of law and ethics, think about ethics. There may be no right or perfect answer because, in a perfect world, everything would be, yes, if you do this, everyone's going to be happy and live happily ever after. But we know that sometimes when we have difficult, challenging ethical decisions, that somebody may still get hurt even though we're making the right choice. So there may be no right or perfect answer, but you want to choose the best one. Out of those options, what is the best course of action? So how do you get to the best answer? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to eliminate any answers that you just know are plain wrong. Okay? Oftentimes it's the funny answer. Sometimes it's an answer that just is way out in left park. It has nothing to do with the subject matter. And then you just kind of have to guess and choose the best answer from the remaining possibilities. The reason why they do this is because it's testing your ability to have critical thinking and decision-making skills. So there's no way to avoid this. You're going to see them on the exam. You just have to, don't be afraid of them and just know, I can do this. I can eliminate all the clearly wrong answers and then I'm going to make the best choice. The other thing I want you to remember when you are taking the exam, you don't have to get every single answer right. You just have to get most of them right. Does that make sense? You just have to get most of them right. So sometimes there's going to be that one or maybe 10 that you're like, I don't know if I got those right or not. All right, so how do we plan? Okay, now hopefully you're taking this course. This is a 6-week course. You're going to be taking this course before you sit for the exam. So we've already got 6 weeks, and we set up a blueprint for you or a study guide to help you plan. That's this course. But what you need to do on a personal level is, where do you find your weaknesses? Is it your writing? Is it your communication skills? Is it your knowledge of business law and business organizations? Where is your weakness? You want to make sure that you devote more study time to those areas where you have a weakness. But don't forget, you still have to study everything else. Even those areas where you feel comfortable, if you sort of slack off on those, It may be that you're like, gosh, I thought I knew this. And a terrible time to find that out is on the exam. You should develop a study space and determine what your best study time periods are. For me, I didn't used to be an early morning person, but now that seems to be a really good time for me. Some of you, your best study time is between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. because that's the only time your children are sleeping and your husband isn't talking to you. You have to find your best study time and also make sure that everybody in your family is aware that your study space is your study space. That's a place for you to go and really concentrate. Learning and remembering facts. Well, there's a bunch of different ways to remember things, but flashcards are really good. They are time tested, and most people are able to use flashcards really well. You want to review repetitively. This just means over and over and over again. The more you go over something, the more you likely are to remember it. Also, you can use memory aids like rhymes, like I before E except after C. Those types of things. You can use acronyms like Roy G. Biv, and that stands for the colors of the rainbow. So there's some things that you can do to sort of help you remember things that you find to be challenging. And then focus on only the most important facts. Remember, we want to get most of the questions right, not all of them. So if something seems really, really super detailed, it's probably not something they're going to ask about on the exam. They're going to want to know your basic knowledge, your fundamental knowledge of the concepts that you've learned. So here's some specifics on tackling multiple choice questions. Now remember, we already talked about the best answer, but here's some other tips. Read the question and answer it in your head before you read the answer choices, because you may be surprised that, that first thing that comes to your head, maybe that is, it's answer C, and you're like, oh, there it is, okay? That's probably the right answer. Statistically, it's probably the right answer. All of the above is usually correct if you can find at least two answer choices that could be right. As I said before, the funny answer is almost never the best choice, and answers containing always or never are less likely to be correct than answers that use words like usually or rarely, especially in the law. It isn't always a certain way, or it isn't never a certain way. So just remember, those are little buzzwords that you know that, hey, something's not right here. So that's all the test taking tips I have at this time. Those mostly focused on multiple choice questions. We'll have some specific videos later to talk to you about how to write that legal memorandum. Again, you're going to pass this test, and there's no need to spaz out.